That's a great version. Now, as you know, I mentioned from last night, to give little brief divrei Torah throughout the service. Today it'll be 3 of them. One about the Torah portion, one about the Haftarah portion, the Torah portion, the Akedah, the Haftarah portion, the story of Hannah. But I want to begin with something, a very kind of a serious topic, very briefly. As you may remember, of the 15 that I mentioned, one of which is anti-Semitism. And that's a really important topic for us, because you know that the FBI said that because of the situation in the Middle East and because of the exponential increase in the acts of anti-Semitism during the past year, that every Jewish congregation should be on a heightened alert. So we are on heightened alert today. We are aware of it. We want to be very grateful to our security committee. Stand up if you're on the security committee. We really appreciate it. And Linda's out there also. We have a very, very active security committee. We also want to be grateful. We mentioned last night Julian back there on our sound system, Amy, of course, Esty, of course. But we didn't mention, but we should always mention, that we have Charles, our security person. Now, he's not, he's part of a security company. Sometimes it might be somebody else, but most of the time it's Charles, also known as Chaim, a Jewish security guy. But he's not just security. He's really an active, loyal member of the Jewish community. So we are really grateful. Having one person out there, and members of the congregation as well, doesn't give us absolute security. The first thing you have to be aware of, when it comes to hatred, no amount of security is going to keep us 100% safe. That's what we learned in Israel on October 7th. We're always at risk. You have to be aware of that. I don't really like the word anti-Semitism, the expression anti-Semitism, because it's such a long word and it doesn't really describe what I'm talking about. So I prefer to say hatred of Jews. Hatred of Jews is really what we're talking about. Anti-Semitism is just too fancy a word, 19th century word. I prefer not to use that word. But since everybody else does, I might use it. But I'm talking about hatred of Jews. I said that we have to get beyond the rhetoric. And we do have to get beyond the rhetoric, but we have to also be aware. Hatred of Jews means that in this world, as John said last night, 9 billion people, some percentage of that 9 billion people, and I don't know what the percentage is, and nobody does, hate Jews. It might be 10%, it might be 20%, but even if it was 1%, 1% of 9 billion is a lot. And hatred of Jews can be put in a lot of different categories. I don't want to get into all the categories, but it exists, and in the most extreme examples of hatred of Jews, people who want to kill Jews. And we always say the Holocaust. Thank you. I was talking about John last night. We talked about the 9 billion people. You remember, I said some of the 9 billion people hate us, and that's a problem. We are aware of it. Now, are we in danger of our lives? That's a matter of how you define it. The number of Jews who have been murdered in the United States of America because they were Jews is a minuscule number. Minuscule number. But each life is precious. It's really dozens of people. Compared to Israel, where the number is in the thousands. I'm not talking about the IDF. I'm talking about Jews who are killed in Israel because they're Jews. Thousands of people. So in that respect, we're safer than in Israel. But we have to remember that one of those people was a member of our Jewish community here in Seattle. July 28th, 2006, Pamela Wechter was murdered by an Islamic terrorist, I have to say that, whose father is still a leader of the Islamic community in the Tri-Cities. So I have to say that. But we can't blame the father for the son, but just be aware. So we have to be cognizant of that fact. Now, if anybody here says it's too dangerous to go to a Jewish place, I am sympathetic with that perspective. Not my perspective, because I'm here, and I always will be here. But if you are not comfortable, you can be on Zoom, you can be at home. And, maybe statistically you're safer at home, maybe. But I think we're all willing to take the risk because we're here. Those of us who are here, we're taking the risk because we say, I'm not going to let people who hate me determine what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be here. But be aware, there are people who do hate you. I also want to say, on the other hand, and perhaps the last thing I'll say today about this issue of anti-Jewish hatred. Thank God there are a lot of people who are not Jewish. I'm just going to talk about America for right now. Of the 300 million people in America, thank God, we have a lot of people who love us. Some of them are our relatives. Some of them are here today. People who are not Jewish, who are sitting with us, praying with us. But beyond those great people, God bless them, we have millions and millions of people who love us, who would stand up with us, who will defend us. Some of them are politicians. Some of them are average people. And so we have to realize that as well. Not everybody hates us. Some people are neutral. Some people like us. Some people love us. But, last thing on this topic for today, the reason why we have the security committee, the reason why we have Charles out there, is because some people hate us and would do us harm, and yes, would kill us. That's all I'm going to say about that today. Beyond the rhetoric, some people hate us, but we're not going anywhere. And that's it.